All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly membership meeting for July 2024. Can't believe it's July. I'm talking about that and fireworks and July 4th all week this week. So this is our monthly membership meeting. I come on to talk about the schedule, updates, things going on in this month, and then I am available to answer any questions that anyone has about your exercise program or our membership or classes or schedule or anything like that. So first, I always like to start with when our next meeting will be. So our next monthly meeting will be Tuesday, August 6th, also at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So we are meeting on the first Tuesday of the month now. Mondays has a lot of meetings on it. So trying to spread things out a little bit and give me some time during the week to prep for this meeting. Our exercise of the month this month, we're calling Summer Shred 2.0. In the summer, we like to do things to get our summer bodies ready for function and being able to move and do whatever we want throughout the summer. You might get to spend more time with grandchildren if you have grandkids. You might be getting up and down from the floor, be more active, playing games with them. And we want you to be ready for that. If you don't have grandkids, you might be going to the beach or doing different activities in the summer. So our Summer Shred 2.0 is an exercise that you may know as being called the dead bug or dying bug. I do not like calling it that because I just don't think that's necessary. If we're exercising, I don't think death is a part of it. So we're calling it Summer Shred, but you may know it by another name if you've ever done it in therapy or in an exercise class. So there are multiple ways that we can do it. This is the recording of Maddie, which we have in the video library. I'll send out the link to this. You get it. So we're on our back for this
Dead bug.
exercise. And your legs go up in the air. You want to have your knees basically lined up over your hips. And then if your feet are a little bit more vertical and kind of that makes it a shorter lever arm, that may be a little bit easier to hold them here. Or basically those lower legs should go straight out from your knees. So your knee is at a 90-degree angle. And then you reach your hands up towards the ceiling. So she's talking here. So we record a video and we are doing a better job at getting this video recorded ahead of time, ahead of the month. Our exercise of the month, we pick something that is pretty challenging and that we want to do consistently throughout a month so that we can build up our ability and get stronger and get more familiar with that exercise. And then we often incorporate them into classes a bit more afterwards. This exercise, dead or dying bug, not only is a challenge for our core, but it also is a coordination challenge. And so that's why it really helps to be able to practice it consistently. So we get on our back. Maddie talks in this video about some different things, like if your low back doesn't feel comfortable during this, kind of the way that you might want to move your body or modify or do things a little bit differently. So she talks about that in the video. And then the arms go up. So this is kind of the starting position of the exercise. And what I've been doing, and it might be a little bit different in each class, but we can do arms only, we can do legs only, or we can do them both together, which is the one that really requires more coordination. So arms only, you're going to take your arm and reach it back down towards the ground. So all the way as low as you feel comfortable down towards the ground, and then you lift it back up. So we're alternating sides, lowering that arm down, bringing it back up. So that is arms only. Then next is legs only. You're going to keep your arms stable up towards the sky. And then, so Maddie's actually showing both here already. I think she must have showed the legs only first. So here she showed with just legs up in the air, one leg coming down, tapping that heel. So you can keep your knee bent and tap your heel, or you also can stretch your leg out straight. That is the harder version. It's a longer lever arm when you stretch your leg out straight. So that is more challenging. So within one exercise, there's always a lot of ways to kind of scale that exercise for you to make it harder, or I don't want to call it easier because it's not easy, but to scale it down a bit so that you can do it really successfully and feel good while doing it. So knees bent, heel to the ground is level 1, and then stretching that leg out straighter would be level 2. And then putting it all together is arms and legs. So we take our opposite arm and leg and stretch them away from each other.
Arm, opposite leg. Another option too is you can go like about halfway. You don't have to go the full way. Again, most important thing, we keep that back nice and flat. So if you feel like that back is starting to rise up from the floor, then let's slow it down. Go a little bit less. If we don't care about how far you're going, we want to make sure those abdominals are working the entire.
So that is our exercise of the month. So we'll be incorporating.
Hello, everyone. Happy month.
We'll be incorporating that into class, and we'll be working on building up, starting with arms, then legs, then both, building up our reps, getting to the point where we feel comfortable just jumping into both arms and legs right from the beginning, maybe starting with that smaller range of motion, increasing the range of motion. When I learned about this exercise in physical therapy school, my professor said, there's a lot of different ways that we can strengthen our muscles and strengthen our core. Something like a plank is good, but it's very stable. And for real life, we're actually moving our limbs more. So this Summer Shred 2.0 exercise is really good because you are strengthening your core while moving your arms, which is a very real life way that we use our strength and use our muscles, keep our body nice and stable while we're doing things, moving our arms and legs. So we're excited to do this exercise throughout the month, build up our ability with it. And you could see when she was doing both arms and legs, this is where that coordination aspect becomes much more challenging. And for a lot of people, it is hard to coordinate which arm and leg and how they're moving. You kind of maybe want to do same side, or you want to have them go the same direction. It's, arm and leg are going opposite directions from each other and then switching sides opposite from each other. So we get a chance to really work on our coordination there as well. So that will be fun. Okay, important dates for online classes and meetings. So we are going to be closed this week on July 4th and July 5th for the holiday. We're taking the 4-day weekend. We're very excited about it. So we will not have live classes on those days. The video library is always available though. So we definitely encourage you to keep exercising with us if you'd like to. Hopefully you have something fun planned. Stephanie, who leads our speech classes, is going on vacation to Europe. So if you haven't joined speech class, I would highly recommend you join when she comes back because she will share all about her trip. I think they're doing a cruise, like maybe a river cruise. Linda probably knows because I bet she's been talking about it. They're really excited for this trip. So we will not have live speech classes on 4 dates in July 9th. Well, and actually we won't have it this week on Thursday because we're closed for the holiday. But after that, she will not be here on the 9th, 11th, 16th, or 18th. So 2 weeks. What I'm going to do is in the daily email, I will put a link to a class each day that you can, if you want to do your speech practice that day and kind of stay in the routine with class, you can log in and do that. I'll put the intro classes and then I'll put some of the full length classes. And so you can keep up with the practice. Or of course, if you want to just take the time off while she's gone, that's totally fine too. She will be back on the 23rd. Wednesday, July 10th at 11:30 is the online women's group with Alex. And we have a special guest, Kelsey Holiday, who's a licensed clinical psychologist. She actually has the background and training of a neuropsychologist, who are the ones who really specialize in cognition and understanding neurologic diagnoses and how that impacts the brain in terms of cognition and emotions and real life. She has chosen as a neuropsychologist to really practice as a licensed clinical psychologist. So she has this background, but she really works with people in talk therapy and some different types of therapy. I met with her a couple months ago and she was just great. She really has a lot of experience working with people with Parkinson's, working with couples, working with spouses, and doing therapy with them. And she just was a really cool person. And so, we like to bring in special guests, different types of professionals that you might at some point want to work with or might be helpful. And so she will be joining the meeting. It'll be pretty open forum. She'll probably share, some of her background and the ways that she works with people most commonly. And then she'll be available for questions and to talk through things. So I'm really excited for her to join that meeting. On Thursday will be our online educational meeting, and we're going to talk about Athletic Falls training. So Athletic Falls training is a special program that we have put together here at Rogue. Out in kind of the world and in physical therapy, there's more and more talk about, falls. Our number one goal is for people not to have falls, but that is not totally realistic. Most of us, I have had falls in the past few years of my life. I've had like at least 2. Most of us are going to have situations, whether it's a slippery surface that we didn't know about, or a dog stepping right in front of us. Or for me, it was trying to jog with Maya and tripping on the sidewalk. So there are things in life that can make us have a fall. We definitely want to improve our balance and train ourselves so that we can reduce the risk of fall as much as possible. But then we also may want to focus on being really athletic if we do have a fall, because what really matters about a fall is if you have an injury. If you fall and kind of roll and you're fine and there's no injury, it's not that big of a deal. But if you fall and have a fracture or an injury that then makes you have to take some time off from exercise or you need medical treatment for it, that is a much bigger deal. So there's been a lot of kind of work recently in exercise classes and physical therapists working with people and saying, okay, we want to help you be able to fall better. So a lot of this comes from like martial arts training. Stuntmen have to know how to fall, to make it look realistic and not get hurt. So there's a lot out there that most of us probably have never been exposed to. So there is research in the community on learning how to fall better. There's research in older adults. I think there's some specifically for people with Parkinson's. And this is a program that we have put together. So the meeting this month is going to be me talking about what the research says. What does this look like? Showing you some videos, talking about how we get started and how we progress. This is not something where you just go from like standing and then you dive down and tuck and roll or something. We start down on the ground with some movement and then we kind of build our way up. So you can do on your own potentially some of this training to the degree that you feel comfortable. If this is a type of training that you would like to do and you don't feel comfortable doing it on your own, you could look and see if there is a physical therapist or personal trainer in your community that you could work with who would help you go through this. You do want to make sure that you have things like a thick mat that is safe. You can also wear, some protection like people do when they go rollerblading. You can wear some body protection. So I'm going to share about this. And it is something that you can do to some degree on your own. And then you may also want to work with someone. Martial arts like place would also be somewhere that you could go and say, hey, I want to learn how to tumble and roll and fall. We do know that this is helpful. There are even just some verbal cues or things that are helpful to know. So if you're having a fall, one thing that's helpful to know is that you shouldn't stiffen up if you're having a fall. You actually want to ragdoll. So when you land, the more surface area that captures that impact from the fall, the better. It spreads it out. If we land on an outstretched hand and that's where all of our force is coming through, we're much more likely to have a wrist or arm injury. But if we're falling and we just say like, whoop, I'm going down and we ragdoll and let it happen, you're actually less likely to have an injury. So some things like that may feel kind of counterintuitive. You might think like, if I'm having a fall, I got to do everything I can to be up on my feet. One of our members who exercises online, we were talking about getting this training started in one of our online classes. And I mentioned the ragdoll thing. We have done some of the falls training as exercise of the month over the past few months too. But one of our members, she was exercising outside with a TheraBand. So like one of those stretchy resistance bands was tied around the railing on her back deck and she was exercising with it and it broke. So, she was kind of leaning back, pulling back, working hard. So when it broke, she lost her balance backwards and she was able to think ragdoll, bloop, just ragdoll right down to the ground and no injury, was on the ground, was able to take a second, make sure she was okay. Be frustrated about a piece of equipment failing on her, but no injury and able to keep up and get up and keep living her life. So that is what we want for everyone, is to reduce your risk of falls. But then if one does happen, we want you to be athletic and have it be no big deal. The more I think about it, like if you watch a football game, I mean, they fall on almost every play. They're running and catching and diving and tumbling and rolling. And that's just part of their everyday life. Certainly, football players get injuries, but it's often not from those falls. It's when they have impact with another person, which we're going to try to avoid. We're going to continue to avoid that. But they're able to fall and roll. And in martial arts, there's so much getting down on the floor, up, falling, that it is not something that is inherently bad for us. We have to know how to do it. And then we also want to make sure that we're keeping our bones as strong as possible, because that also is a part of the equation. So that will be our educational meeting. I'll be putting that together over the next couple of weeks, and we are going to meet at 2 p.m. This is a day that normally we would have speech on that day and time, but I'm just going to insert our meeting into that day and time instead of scheduling it at an additional time to try to keep our schedule as streamlined as possible. So that is when we will meet, and I will also record that meeting. So if you're not able to attend live, you can join or you can watch it later. The only real update we have for our online class schedule is the speech class, that we won't have that for 2 weeks. So I'm not actually changing our online schedule, but I'll put it in the daily email the days that she is not there. And I will put a link to still do a class if you'd like to. On Fridays at 9 a.m., I will be back to joining live. So We have our new therapist, Catherine, who is getting all trained up in all the different things that we do. And so on Friday, she is ready to take over that strength circuit class. So I will be back live on Fridays to teach power moves. I'm going to start just with a full length power moves class. And then I'm going to check in and see, of those of you, power moves is definitely one of our most popular classes. And when I was doing half power moves, half dance on Fridays, there were a lot more people joining power moves than dance. And so I'm going to check in and see, how many people would like us to bring back dance. If there's a demand, I will certainly do that. I can do the split of power moves and dance class, 30 minutes each. Or if people are like, oh, we really want to just focus on the power moves and do a whole hour-long class, I would be happy to do that as well. So I'll be sending out a message and asking if people have a preference one way or the other. If they do, let me know. If not, then I will decide. I'll make the decision myself. So that's the only thing. Everything else is staying the same. Who is teaching the classes is staying the same. What the classes are is staying the same for now. If you have any requests or ideas or things you would like to see, let me know. Catherine, our new PT, will be taking over Thursdays at some point in time doing power moves and boxing. And I just do not have the exact date for when we're going to do that. I do think it will probably be sometime in July, but more towards the end of the month, because we've got to get her. Power moves is kind of the most challenging class to learn and take over, because we do I don't know, 20 to 40 different exercises in a class. And you really have to get that rhythm and timing down and explanations and the mirroring. So there's a lot of things. So we're getting her ready to be able to take that over. And so that will happen sometime soon. Our in-person meetings, I don't know of who is on the call right now. I meant to look and see if we have any of our in-person members. We also are able, in person to post I'm going to take a quick peek. All right. It is almost exclusively online members who are joining right now. So I'm not going to go into a lot of depth, but we do have support groups here now led by Darlene Mann, a social worker. We have first Tuesday of the month is for people with Parkinson's. Second Tuesday of the month is for spouses of people with Parkinson's. Third Tuesday of the month is for everyone. People with Parkinson's, spouses, they can come on their own or come together. It's facilitated by an experienced social worker, which really has been great. We've gotten great feedback. So those meetings are happening. We have an in-person women's group, and we have Michelle Wiley, a speech therapist, joining us for the in-person meeting. She is also one I have asked her about joining online group. There's always a lot to talk about with a speech therapist, when to go to therapy, what it would help with, swallowing, breathing, facial expressions, eating. One thing that came up in our in-person women's group is we were talking about our love of watermelon, and someone was saying that eating watermelon had changed a little bit. They noticed that it just didn't feel like they were as coordinated or it was easy to swallow. And I said, this is a great thing to talk to a, speech therapist about. But what I thought might be going on is that watermelon is an interesting food. It is both crunchy and hard and also liquid at the same time. And from learning from Stephanie, our speech therapist that teaches the online classes, I have learned so much about how our mouths manage food, our tongue, our lips, our cheeks, how we swallow. And it is pretty complex. It's something that's pretty amazing that we do it all the time without thinking about it. But having something that is crunchy and a thin liquid at the same time is a little more difficult for our mouth and swallow mechanism to manage. So those are the kinds of things that for a lot of us are interesting to think about and to talk about. And if there's something that you really enjoy eating, we want to figure out how you can keep eating that thing and enjoy it. Or in some cases, you might find out, oh, that is why that is a little bit difficult to eat. And if I don't love that food anyways, I'm not going to worry too much about it. But something like watermelon, you may really want to keep eating it. So I am going to talk to Alex to find out. Our plan for the online women's group is to have kind of a speaker about every other month, and then have an opportunity in between to chat, debrief, and just talk amongst ourselves. So I'm going to see what month is available, and then we'll likely get Michelle to join that group as well. And she can answer questions and, have just a little bit of a different kind of chat than what happens in the live speech class. That is, running through, doing all the drills and everything. I also am in touch with Stephanie about doing an educational meeting now that she really has kind of our online class format running really consistently. Vocal drills, breathing exercises, facial expression, swallowing, cognitive, maybe other areas. So the last time she did an educational meeting, she has done one about speech, one about swallowing, and they were in like 2020 or something, maybe 2021. It was a long time ago. So I've asked her to come on and do an educational meeting. I think that will be in September. And she will basically kind of talk about the format of our class, what gets worked on and why. What is the research? What is people's experience? It's really cool sometimes hearing the functional changes that people report. Like now I can do talk to text and I can say what I want to text a friend instead of having to type it out on those tiny little non-buttons. I can say it and my phone actually recognizes what I say so that I can send that text. Or if I want to ask Siri for something. So it's been cool to hear, the improvements that people are noticing. They're like, their volume is better, their speech is more clear with this practice. And that translates into, really improving your life. So Stephanie's going to be joining us for an online educational meeting very soon as well. Then we are doing more reactive balance training and athletic falls training here in person. For any of our online members, if you ever are in this area visiting family or on a vacation or anything, and you want to come in and join classes with us or do some of this specialty training, let us know. Reactive balance training, I did in an educational meeting on that a little while ago. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, you can always check out that educational meeting. So we have kind of a special piece of equipment here, this platform. People wear a harness, they're hooked to the ceiling, so there's no chance of falls. And then they're on this platform that moves, that basically we move in one direction or another. We control the speed and how much it moves, but it induces a loss of balance where you have to take a step to catch your balance. And so this is a really great type of training that is something that is hard to do. Pretty much everything we do balance-wise is something we're choosing to do. I'm going to step there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So it's very different than when your brain and body have to react to something that happens in a very quick amount of time. So this is something that there are ways that you can do this type of training at home without specialty equipment. Again, it's another one like the athletic falls. You've got to, safety is always the most important. And it also is something, there are more and more places that are getting this special platform. So if you have a PT clinic in your area or you've ever done therapy, you can always, excuse me, get an afternoon fatigue because I didn't go to sleep on time last night. I stayed up too late. But anyways, if you have a PT clinic in your area, you can check and see if they do this type of training, if they have this platform. If they don't, you could let them know about it. They might be interested in having that be something that they're able to provide. But I hear from therapists all the time, all over the country, who see our videos or other things and are like, oh, cool, I'm going to get that platform. And now we have it available for in-person training too. So we have specific sessions available for that for any in-person members who are watching who would like to join. Basically, come up to the front desk, let us know which date you want to come to. We have 2 people come for each of the time slots. This is very different than a big group class. So you can let us know and I will get the dates organized for August as well, in case you want to come in August instead of July. Then staff updates. So Catherine is our new physical therapist. She started with us at the beginning of June. She has a month under her belt. We're continuing training. We do a lot around here. You kind of forget how many different things we do. We have 6 different in-person classes. We have like 5 or 6 different online classes. Teaching them is a little bit different, what we teach and how we teach, and just the equipment and setup and logistics. So there's kind of a process that I'm going through in terms of what is the priority for training, getting her independent with those classes and kind of tackling that one at a time. So she will be joining and teaching online classes probably towards the end of July. And I'm very excited. She is from Texas originally, so she's got a bit of an accent, a Southern accent. So yeah, it'll be really fun to have her teaching. She has great energy. She's been a PT for like 5 or 6 years already. She's got great experience and it's been really wonderful having her on the team. And it's just, there's so much to learn at being at Rogue. I'm like, am I overcomplicating this? Or is it just, this is what it takes to do a really good program? I'm not 100% sure because sometimes I feel like I may just be overcomplicating it. But she's getting trained. Things are happening well. And I'm excited for her to start online. So future educational meetings. And this is the one where I'm going to add September is when Stephanie will join to discuss speech, swallowing, breathing, facial expressions, cognition, and more. So she will go over basically all the things that are incorporated into our classes that she has found to be really important and research based. She will cover that. So July athletic falls training. In August, I'm going to do a presentation on nutrition. I just put one together for a meeting that I did locally here, and I got really good feedback about it. So I am going to present that meeting or that information in an online meeting in August. Then Stephanie will join in September. I also have the opportunity to have a professor and researcher from Chicago, Daniel Korkos. He is available to join us for a meeting to discuss high intensity exercise towards the end of July. So we may have a bonus online meeting in July on exercise. You know, I want to take advantage of him being available and talking about the research that he's doing, you know, what he sees works practically for people. And so that is something he just emailed me today, his availability for the last week in July. So I'm going to look and see if we do get that scheduled. And if so, I'll let you all know. But this is what we have on the book so far. These are the topics that we still are interested in scheduling, looking for speakers to talk about specific topics, or for some of them, I can certainly present on them. Are there any other topics that we don't have here that people are interested? We definitely are going to cover bone health, dystonia, and dyskinesia. That's what I'm going to ask Dr. Chen, a movement disorders neurologist, to join us for. Stem cells. I'm working on, we do have a researcher in the area who's involved in kind of the latest stem cell research that's happening. She is extremely busy. So I have to find out if she might be available to join us, or if we have another neurologist come to kind of talk about the state of the research there and, you know, the latest updates. New, excuse me, new treatments in the pipeline, neuropsychology. So that may be Kelsey Holiday may join us to present on that, or I'll find another neuropsychologist and then a neuro-ophthalmologist talking about eyesight, and how, you know, our vision is not just our eyes, it's how our brain processes and interprets information. And that's where neuro-ophthalmologists can really help you put the big picture together. Many people will notice a change in their vision and go to an optometrist or ophthalmologist, and they'll check it out and say, your eyes are great. They're healthy. They're fine. And you're like, so then why is there a change in my vision? So that can often be more because of how your brain is processing the visual information coming in, as opposed to just the actual sensory of vision. So any other topics, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat if you have any other topics that you would like to see us discuss. But yeah, it's more just not enough months to cover all the topics that we want to cover. All right, so now we have time for questions and discussion. So I am going to stop the recording and stop the share. For anyone watching the recording, thank you for joining. Email me if you have any questions at claire@roguept.com for questions or requests or suggestions. And then I will stop the recording.